Welcome to another episode of Preparing for the Unexpected. I'm your host, Alex Fullick, and as always, we like to talk about things related to business continuity, crisis management, COVID, well-being, resilience, anything that can help you, your organization, or your community prepare for, respond to, and overcome adverse situations. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, please feel free, reach out to LinkedIn. You can find me on there. I am the only Alex Fullick on LinkedIn, so I'm really easy to find. Alternatively, you can find me at alexfullick.com. Now, I just said, if you want to be a guest on the show, reach out. Well, I have one of those people on the show today. We are going to talk about how business continuity helps organizations with continuous profits. And I'd like to welcome to the show, Harsha Sastry. Harsha, welcome to the show.
Hi, Alex. Thank you very much for inviting me on this show. Preparing for the unexpected is a wonderful theme that you have, where you host a lot of professionals. And, I think the title of the show is wonderful. And the theme for today also is excellent. So let me try to do my best as you navigate me through the show.
Well,
that's my opening comment for you.
Like I said before we started recording, you're the star of the show, so you get to say all the things you want to say. So, and I know we have a general outline, but hey, let's see where it takes us. I'm looking forward to our chat today.
Okay, no problem, Alex. So it's wonderful that you're telling me about this. So let me start by introducing myself.
Yes.
I am Harsha Sastry from India. I have, a vast experience across various industries. Like the IT service industry, the manufacturing industry, the financial services industry, the FMCG services industry, and the IT services, of course. Now, where I have built in a lot of programs and strategic initiatives, not only for the normal operations, but also for business continuity and resilience across my career in professional life. I worked with multiple groups, and that is what I can put on the table right now. As a professional and a practitioner, I contribute to the DRI Best Practices group on LinkedIn. I also am a person who writes a newsletter on LinkedIn for the moments of continuity. And we have more than 4,000 subscribers for that newsletter today on LinkedIn. So with this small introduction from my side, I would just like to say that continuity has been an aspect of my life, and it continues to be an aspect of my life because continuity has transformed itself right from being continuous to business resilience, further moving on to operational resilience, and further on hopping off to organizational resilience, that moving off ahead on the height to disaster risk reduction. So these are various factors of resilience that I have navigated, and that's what I like to say. The second thing that I like to talk about is, when we are speaking about various aspects about of costs and savings that continuity programs can bring inside. At the same time, how continuity programs can bring in continuous profits. So here are a few things that I would like to say. There are four perspectives that I would like to give. The first perspective is about rediscovery. And when I'm talking about rediscovery, I'm talking about programs that have been there right from legacy, where we had documented plans, then we went on to systems which prepared for systems documentation. At the same time, we went in for point tools, and then we finally went in for automated systems for continuity planning and resilience. What happened in this journey? There was a value that got added in every step, and there was a rediscovery that happened by all organizations, by all professionals in their journey. So that is what we mean by rediscovery.
You
Rediscovery
mentioned
also,
You mentioned legacy programs. What could you be specific? What kind of programs were you talking about that had plans, like incident
Yeah.
management or something like that?
Yeah,
Or
yeah. So if you talk of programs, those programs are related to functional continuity plans. They are related to business continuity plans. They are respected to premise recovery plans. They are related to crisis management plans. They are related to business impact analysis by its whole fulcrum itself, because every time you want to write or rewrite a plan, you need to start with business impact analysis. And that's the most important element of the entire planning cycle. Now, when we are looking at business impact analysis, the most important aspect that we have to realize is that we are supposed to be reducing the number of important activities and critical business services. The target for an individual is not to have a huge fat number of processes, because then the business impact analysis has probably not done the right job. The moment you start having thinner business impact analysis generated with lighter number of processes, functions, activities, services getting into the critical space, you are going to be more resilient, because you have done the first activity of identifying what is really, really important for me as an organization, and everyone has contributed to it. It's not just the professional who has used his brains and used his intelligence and tried to do an analysis and brought in the BIA and said, here is the mismanagement, this is the BIA. No, when you have a thin BIA, it actually means everybody has paid attention to that detail and filtered off many things which someone thought was big and important, and then made it small. So it basically means everybody has to have that eye of detail and the knowledge of importance to bring in important activities, critical services, and business services which are operationally important for the organization. That is what I meant to say. The second thing that I would like to talk about is speed. Speed is something that we need to requalify. Now, when I'm saying that requalification of speed, it basically means your recovery time objectives and your recovery and your capability to recover. How quickly are you responding to something? See, in the erstwhile, we did not have automated systems for call trees. We had the conventional call tree where we took a phone number and dialed a person.
yeah.
Yes, but today, that is a very important process which still needs to exist, because IT can fail any day. So just like we have preparing for the unexpected, you can have IT really telling you bye bye one day, and then the automated calling system would probably fail. In that instance, the only rescue, the only second line of defense that you have is the conventional call tree. And
Yeah.
hence, organizations have to have the capability of having one call tree done in a year at least, which is a manual call tree dialing up everyone. So here the organization plays a very big role. What is the reporting structure that we have? Is it a 1 is to 100 or is it a 1 is to 5? It's very easy to call 5 people over a phone, but it's very difficult to call 100 people with the phone.
Hmm.
So keeping this in mind, the structure of an organization also needs to be designed in such a way that there is a 1 is to 4 ratio between a manager and the reportees. So that is a perspective that I'm trying to bring. That is about speed. Second thing about speed that I like to talk about is you have the normal roads on our in our cities. You have the motorway, you have the expressway. Each one has a different speed limit at what you can drive. And the most important thing that when I'm saying that we have to recalibrate or have speed requalifications is we as an organization, we as professionals need to decide that today, after we are having products, we are having tools, we are having technology, we are having everything under the sun which is Automatic on the flip of our fingers can do many things. Are we at the right speed running as an organization, or are we lagging behind? Are the people inside the organization running at a speed at what we as an organization are running? If people do not respond back at the same lightning speed of an automated call tree, we would not be able to get the same speed limits that we expect ourselves to run. So that is where the value will get added, and that is where the cost saving will start coming in. The
With
moment you
speed
have
though, isn't there challenges with speeds because or recovery time objectives, things like that? Because wouldn't the situation itself, a hurricane or a tornado or earthquake, that could potentially have an impact on any sort of timing or speed, to use your word. We're going to have systems up in 4 hours. Well, if you have an earthquake,
absolutely,
chances are pretty good you're not going to make that 4 hours.
absolutely. So the recovery time objectives that organizations define needs to be considering the various types of scenarios and events at what they would be recovering. You can't have a flat number saying recovery time is 4 hours. It means it is a dot 4 hours, and I'm watching the clock now. It's 4 hours, and it has not happened. So I'm going to start penalizing you. I'm going to start withdrawing your contract. No, contracts have to be enhanced. That is where the speed is going to get aligned, because contracts today have only a single recovery time objective indicated that I would require my services and my products to run at a 20-minute RTO. But 20-minute under what conditions?
Yeah,
Is it
exactly.
under is it just a small hard disk failure, or is it about a hurricane hitting us and you want 20 minutes recovery time objectives? So these are things which businesses will have to go back to their customers, have a negotiation, and rebuild the contract or have annexures, so that we are very clear that when we are building a plan, we are building a realistic plan which is going to work, and we're not building a plan to satisfy someone that we have a book which is going to be used. Number
Mhm.
one. The second thing is that a plan is expected to work when there is a need for it to work. If you're writing a plan and you're wanting it to fail and you want to sit and have a lot of fun about it, then we are designing a business continuity to fail.
Mhm.
So we can't design something to fail. We have to design something to pass, but there would be failures because of certain procedures, certain standard operating methods, certain individualistic characteristics, certain tooling aspects, certain time zone issues, because of which you may find that we are losing out somewhere. So it's not about losing out or winning. It is all about, are we planning to win together? We want all the three parties to win: the customer to win, the person who's engaging to win, and everybody in the organization, in both organizations, to win. Because this is an effort not by a professional, this is an effort that has been done by everyone in the organization. Because today we are talking of operational resilience, organizational resilience. These are not words to be used to just use them. These are words because it means that everyone engages. That is the perspective about speed. The third thing that I would like to cover about is CMDB. Everybody knows that CMDB is the configuration management database, but I call CMDB as the continuity maturity delta bridge. Now, why do I call it as the continuity maturity delta bridge? Because if you look at IT events, if you look at the way infrastructure services run, if you look at the ways the business continuity plans are documented, and if you really look at the actual CMDB documentation, you would find that the CMDB documentation is just limited to the CIs related to IT. The configurable items related to people, related to external vendors, related to various services are not captured to the totality. It's because it's too much of detail. Business continuity, as we know, is all about a lot of detail. It's about counting every finger, every nail, every molecule in your body. And that is something no one wants to do. But
Or
the
has time
moment,
to do when a disaster occurs.
absolutely, and it is required to be done when you really see it raining heavy, when you are really not knowing what to do. So a CMDB, when I call it as the continuity maturity delta bridge, what I mean to say is the bridge is as long as much as you have missed on capturing elements inside your configuration database. So if you have missed on capturing the people who manage your infrastructure, the bridge is long. If you have missed upon certain elements that you require as services to be running on an infrastructure in the CMDB, you will again have a longer bridge. Why a longer bridge? Because what is business impact analysis on the day of the event? It's about knowing the whole list, saying, I need all these 5 million things to be there right now. Otherwise, I cannot start working. And if you don't have those 500 elements in your CMDB, you are having a delta for enabling yourself to rise. And that is what I call as delta bridge.
So what does the maturity part represent?
The maturity model in that is you may have a CMDB at an organizational level at the infrastructure management. So that is level one. You need to drop it down and bring it down to a function level. So there will be a high level CMDB, there'll be a function level CMDB. Now, every function has a service. That service will have another CMDB. Every service has an activity. That activity would have a CMDB, and every activity has a standard operating procedure. You need to
Mhm.
have a CMDB at the standard operating procedure. So this is the 5 levels: level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, and that's how you get your maturity model of having nothing in the beginning, then coming inside into a repeatable mode with the corporate one, then getting into a defined one with the function level coming in, then getting into a managed one with the further operational one coming in, and then coming inside the optimized one when you have the activity and the SOP both getting linked up to the CMDB and making it a 5 level maturity capable activity for the organization. The moment you do this, you will never have failures. The moment you don't have failures, you're never going to have losses. When you don't have losses, you're going to be continuously on. And when you're continuously on, you're only going to get continuous profits coming inside. You're never going to have a blackout. You're never going to have a brownout. So when both of these things are not going to be there, you are just going to be getting profit, 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 and your graph will only be going higher. But to achieve what I'm saying, it really needs effort, and all the 10 fingers have to work together and make it happen. And that's what it is about saying all in operational resilience and organizational resilience. So
I'm
that
glad
is
to I'm
my
glad to hear you mention the SOP, the standard operating procedure. I don't think they get referenced enough in business continuity because there's a lot of information there that can be leveraged. So I'm glad to hear you reference it. I don't think we reference it enough.
absolutely, Alex. The last piece that I would like to talk about is responsiveness. Now, what is responsiveness? Responsiveness is basically reacting to either a message, reacting to an alert, reacting to something that you observe, and reacting to something that you need to do. Now, when is all this going to happen? All this is going to happen only when you have a plan and you have the specified recovery time objective defined in the way that it needs to be, and it does not make an individual start running a race of meeting the 4 hour rather than seeing that he's actually fit to meet the 4 hour. In the process of running to meet the 4 hour, if you are injured, you are going to have a medical emergency. Your responsiveness could end up to a disaster, to a further created disaster, because you're already in crisis. In that, you create another crisis. So you need medical emergency, and you need, beyond that, you need support for the person who's injured. So the first responders are not doing the continuity response, but they are taking care of someone who was a responder who got injured. So it's a responder's responder. So you'll have issues when you have responsiveness not happening in the right direction, in the right way, especially when your recovery time objectives are not right, when your BIAs are not right, when your response plans are not right, and when there is limited involvement of people inside doing the activities. So this is the fourth very important aspect that I just want to talk about when it comes to building up continuous profit. So responsiveness is something that is going to bring in the profit for us also.
I'm
Yes.
assuming with responsiveness, based on what you were just saying, to basically validate your responsiveness and the plans, and that would lead into exercising and testing and things like that, correct?
Yes. Now, exercising and testing, Alex, you've touched upon a very important and interesting topic for me. So I'll just like to bring you in to a situation. Okay. In the erstwhile time, we had exercising being done with only building evacuations being executed. It was an OEP exercise that was being done in the 1980s, 90s. People used to just evacuate the building and they used to come back. It used to be an absolute security protocol that used to be followed. And it used to be orchestrated and done in a most fantastic fashion, if I have to say. Very good ATRs, very good after action reports, because everybody had all the time to do it. Okay. Then came when we started doing testing of business continuity. So we said, okay, get the tape, restore the data, let's check. So there was a lot of enthusiasm because we thought we were doing something very different, and we started doing it with great enthusiasm. Then came the process where we said that let us see, now we have site A, site B, let's try to travel between site A and site B and see whether we are able to reach there and we can do it. We started doing it. And we started meeting it. We started failing, but we started saying that, we have met it partially, we met it fully, or X, Y, Z. Now, what was all this? This was all about building up teamwork when we are doing testing. But there was a cost involved for testing also. As much as it was being done out of fun and frolic and building up teams, there was also a cost because there was some production time being lost. There was some time in respect to testing time being lost. There had to be a budget for transportation and various other costs which was required, which we set as costs, but they were investments to just prove to ourselves that yes, everybody knows what to do. We know that if we go there, we are going to have everything working. And we also know that if something happens to this building, we still have another place to go and work. We probably didn't have so much of stress on the RTO, RPO, and that was not so much on a precision check. But we definitely were validating whether we could work or no. Now came an era where we were all 2 years at home, which is COVID. So it brought in a lot of change for all of us, and we started testing work from home. We started testing, whether people are available, and we started testing whether systems are working because everything was remotely available, and then we had to see that it was all up and running. So there was a lot of system testing that was happening. Mm-hmm. Now comes an era when people are saying that we want to go back to office and work on a hybrid mode. So it's basically, I want to work at home, I want to work in the office. So how am I going to test? What am I going to test? And the question today for many people is what to test? What am I supposed to test?
Hmm.
So the most important thing that somebody has to test is vital records which you have mentioned in your plans to be available. You don't have all records entered into your plan. You are giving references that this particular document is lying on this SharePoint at this URL, and we will access it from the recovery site and bring it down and then use it. You may have a hard copy, but still you have references. Are we checking whether those references are alive? That's the first test. I don't need to do movement of people. I don't need to do a nice jungle gym race. No, what I just need to do is to check what I've written. Is it right and is it available? That's the first thing I want to check. The second thing I want to check is, am I responsive before I even begin using my plan? If I get a phone call, am I picking up my phone call? If I get an email, am I responding to that email? If I get a short message, am I responding to the short message? And why is this becoming more and more important? Because everybody is today working in a city or a town which probably the office doesn't exist. Everybody has gone to their hometowns. Everybody is at their home working from home. So you probably have a lot of virtual offices existing, a lot of home offices existing. But the most important thing is that the span of responsiveness has got distributed to a wider range than what it had to be. So the most important element that has to be tested is, am I reachable when I send out a call to you message? Because what I want to know today is, are you okay? Are you safe? Are you well? These are the three things I want to know definitely.
Yeah.
Everything else, everything else is afterwards. But the first three things that I want to know is these three things that I said. The only drill that can make you get this confirmation back is a call. People may say that we do it, we get a confirmation. Yes. Are you getting a confirmation of 80% turnaround time in the first hour? Is the question. If you're not getting
Mhm.
it, you are failing.
And
That
on
is
that
what I
note,
would say.
and on that note, we've come to the end of our first segment. We're talking today with Harsha Sastry on the topic of how business continuity helps organizations reap continuous profits. And we will be right back. Welcome back. We are talking with Harsha Sastry today on the topic of how business continuity helps organizations reap profits. Harsha, with all the things that you gave us in the first segment, are there some points that we should ponder to help create and these continuous profits, as you mentioned?
Yeah, okay. So, Alex, I'm sorry for this, but I can just say something
Sure.
that I'll just like to give a few mnemonics to you, by the virtue of which it becomes very easy for us to understand. At the same time, relate to what I'm trying to say. So, I'll just go with A for alpha. So, when I say A for alpha, what I actually mean is allow. And when I say allow, I mean to say that we should allow the next generation to start taking charge, just like our ancestors gave us charge. So that is the alpha that we have to start driving ourselves towards, by allowing the new leaders and the next generation to take over the continuity and the organizational resilience piece from our side. The B is for Bravo. And B is basically talking about begin, when we are thinking that it is the end. So beginning is always when we think that it's the end, and that is Bravo. The C for Charlie is about change and continuous continuous change basically. C for Charlie is continuous change and also combat. So we should be in a combat state at all times, and we should be in a change state at all times, because we never know when an event or a crisis can strike. So that
Exactly.
is the C for Charlie. D for Delta is about the dollar. Whether it is discipline or whether it is the design or whether it is a drill, it's all about earning the dollar back and earning not only the dollar that you have spent, not only what you have invested, but something more back, because that is all about profit. The E for eco is about enthusiasm, enthusiastic people, and the elasticity that you build in the entire program across the place. And I for India is all about innovation. Without innovation today, you would have the same old practices being followed, but they may or may not be relevant in the given circumstances. So you need to keep innovating new ways for testing, for evacuating, for evaluating, because that's the only way a continuity program is going to progress for itself when everyone feels that I have worked from home for COVID, so I have gained continuity. So, what is it in continuity for me as I go back to office? So, there is a piece of innovation and a thought process that a person has to get inside to see as to how the program needs to get recasted for actually building it back and making it move ahead. Just like I explained in my previous episode about testing, there are many things to test. You don't need to test only by moving out of office or by mobilizing people. You can
Mm.
test the plan to be thorough even by sitting at your desk at office. That is what I just want to say. So these are the points that I'm trying to say that we have to ponder around. Alex.
Well, I like the excuse me, the point that you made about innovation and the testing, especially now that we're at home, because you have to test under all circumstances. You can't just test under um, the data center is down and then continually using that. Well, then you're only proving one thing. A storm could happen the next day and nothing works. So by
Absolutely.
testing or exercising with people at home has a whole new perspective on the plan and what will work and what won't work, under certain circumstances.
Absolutely. So I would only like to say that as much as natural disasters are on the highest side of events across the world, we also have the other events occurring. The most important thing that the natural disasters have taught us is that we have to be capable of enabling ourselves to protect people, assets, environments. And that's the most important thing that we also learned in COVID. So fundamentally, it's all about asset protection, people safety, people wellness, environment safety, as well as various elements of continuity which make the difference. The other aspect that has emerged today, if I have to really speak about, is about data. So, how are you going to bring in the data integration for becoming innovative? The moment you have data, you are in a position to have a lot of analytics done. This analytics is really going to pinpoint to you the areas in an organization and the planning systems which really need attention. The moment those attention areas are identified, you are able to recalibrate your plans and you are able to recalibrate everything, by the virtue of which you're again going inside a journey to bring in profit back because you've identified the gap. So it's all about data, it's all about analytics, it's all about technology, it's all about natural events, it's all about people, it's all about environments, is what I would just like to say, to bring in that profit that we require by having a consistent and cohesive continuity plan, which is complete and competitive enough to run across the ocean. That's what I would like to say.
In your notes, I was just looking at them here. You talked about goals, vision, mission, and the epicenter. Can you
Yes.
talk a little bit more about those? Especially what you mean by epicenter?
Okay. Now, when I want to talk about the strategic intent, it's very important for everyone in the organization to understand what is the strategic intent of having a continuity program itself. What is the strategic direction that the organization is trying to look forward towards? What are the goals? What are the visions? What is it in for me so that I can go and achieve a piece of that goal so that the organization's goal can be achieved? So, until and unless the strategic intent is not understood, just like you would not be able to do an action if you do not know the reason why you are doing that action. What is the contribution of your action towards the profitability of an organization, towards the capability of an organization, towards the maturity of the organization? Only when you understand that your contribution of performing a drill, your contribution of writing a plan is ultimately going to make the organization get that 100 marks of being called as an organization resilient place to work. An individual is not going to contribute to that 5% which he does in order to achieve that 100%. So it's all about understanding that even if one individual does not perform in the space of continuity, you're actually dropping the ball because the whole organization will not be able to meet the recovery time objective, the recovery point objective, and various other objectives that we state in a continuity mandate for an organization. So it may not impact all processes, but it could impact a single process. And God forbid, that single process could be the most critical process for an organization.
Mhm.
And hence, we would not have the capability of doing it. It could be as simple as a process of a person switching off the mains and enabling the generator to start on. So it could be a very simple process as such. But if he's not aware, if he's not written his SOP, if he doesn't know how to go and switch it on, you're just not going to have power in that particular block or in that building that day, and you would be having a blackout, resulting in so many people not being able to perform. So that is what exactly I'm trying to relay to an activity, a single process, at the same time, a capability to bring in a lot of profit. So that is what I meant to say when I meant to say an epicenter. Epicenter is basically the focal point of being continuously available and enabling one to earn a lot of profit by the virtue of continuing services and doing work at all times. That
Okay.
is the crux of the story.
Now, the next one, you talked about shift right or let me get the wording right here. Shift right or left dynamic.
Absolutely. Now, this is all about agility. So, when you say that you're an agile organization, when you say that you're an agile organization, you should be able to know to prioritize your activities, whether you need to move them ahead of time or whether you need to move them a little bit far away from time. For example, if a function is in the process of going live, it could be better to shift left the testing of the plan so that you know even before you go live that your continuity plan is in action, and you know the gaps before you go and activate your go live state. So you have a plan even before you start. Otherwise, if you're looking at it move right, shift right, what are you trying to do? You're trying to shift the testing to a further date after you've gone live. So you are bringing in a factor of risk, of operational risk, which is a gap of not knowing whether you have completely covered everything that you need to cover, and you're taking a risk and a chance of moving it right and saying that I shall test it ahead and let us see till then whether we are able to sustain.
I've
So the
worked at
gaps.
I've worked at places that have done that. Some places have said within 30 days of going live with something or implementing something, within 30 days, they have to hold some sort of a disaster recovery test if it's IT. And others, have said that business continuity plans have to be updated within 30 days. And I've been in other places that said you can't even go live until you've done a disaster recovery test and updated business continuity plans. It's actually one of the check boxes type things that allow you to go live. If you don't have that, sorry, you're not
Absolutely.
going live.
One of the prerequisites, I should say, is to test your plan before you go live. That's the right way to do planning, because then you know what you're written and what you're going to do is actually going to work. Otherwise, you're going to work and then you're just having a perspective that it's going to be working, but it may always fail.
Yeah.
So you're leaving it to chance.
Yeah, which can be very
Absolutely.
dangerous.
Absolutely.
So number 3, the next thing you talked about is recalibration, sharpening, and challenging. What were you talking about there?
Okay, so when I'm talking about recalibration and sharpening oneself, I am talking about making a process so well defined and so well polished that it can operate at a speed which only reduces your turnaround time. So the processes which are required to keep an organization running, if calibrated, if tested, if practiced on a regular basis, the only thing that will happen is that due to practice, the individuals performing that action would be able to find methods of executing that action in a better way, in a faster way, thus reducing the overall RTO or the overall process time, enabling an organization to be active even before time. So it's all about sharpening oneself. So it's just like one individual trying to exercise on a regular basis so that he is strong as an individual. At the same time, he is also strong from a point of view of reaction.
Mm-hmm.
It's always said that you just test with all your sweat in such a way that when you really have a disaster, it's just another test. You don't need to stress out on that day when there is a problem and say, oh, I need to do XYZ things, I need to do Y plus X things, and then only I'm going to be recovering. Because you're doing it every day, you would be in a position to react and redo it in a more simplified way on the day of the event. So practice makes an individual perfect, is what I'll say.
Well, I guess that's, if you're doing that every day, you get better at situational awareness. So that when
Absolutely.
different things happen, you're much quicker and your ability to adapt to this new set of circumstances is better and makes you stronger, right? And ultimately will make the organization and plans and things like that better responsive, right?
Absolutely. It's all about muscle memory, I should say. Because you're doing the same thing day in and day out, you would be in a position to react in a more solid way on the day that it is required. Because you never know on which day which action would be required.
That's right. Yeah. Who knows when things are going to happen?
Absolutely.
And the last thing, and we kind of talked about this already, was testing. And we only have about 4 minutes left. But so I might as well just ask, do you have any final thoughts on testing or final thoughts overall?
Well, I would just say that final thoughts of testing is basically, I would like to just tell people a small story in these last 4 minutes of mine. And that story is a well known story that all of us have heard as children. And we continue to hear that story. It's not anything else, but it's about the hare and the tortoise. So it's all about not about coming first. It's all about being consistent in your activity so that you reach faster to the target rather than presume that because I know to sprint, I can run faster. But that is not the case always. So it's all about winning together, and it's all about enabling oneself to understand that it is consistency in an individual's action to keep moving towards the target with real focus, just like the tortoise did. And it went and reached the target. And the hare, being a sprinter, being the fastest person, probably left behind because of various reasons. We are not saying that the hare is bad or the tortoise is bad. What we are saying is it's just a story for us to hear, and it's just a relationship that I'm trying to build in this episode of ours so that the audience enjoys this. And it's only that once we are focused, once we know we have to reach the target, once we are driving ourselves towards it slowly, steadily, we are going to win. The last things that I like to say in this final thoughts of mine is about something that we are all experiencing as COVID transitions of boosters. So I like to give some boosters to everyone in the form of Alex. So what is Alex all about? Alex is A for Alex, A for Alpha is about being alighting from the train and boarding another one. So that is the A of Alex. L for Lima in Alex is all about listening. So listen to someone who's speaking because you learn when you listen. E is for eco, and E of Alex is about education. Educate through awareness is the only thing that one can do in this scenario, and that is the biggest booster an individual has to give so that you are able to educate and share with people what you know. And the last one is X of Alex, which is the X axis and the X-ray. So basically the X axis here is two things. One is X can also have time, X can also have value. So whether it is a value or whether it is time, it elongates or it depreciates depending upon the value that you are trying to generate out of it. So the shorter the time, the more the money that you generate. The longer the investment, the more the sturdiness that you build in an organization. So whether you put a dollar on the X or whether you put a time on the X axis, you are only going to win. And X-ray is all about being able to have the capability of visualizing an unexpected event and trying to prepare for it, just like I am here on this show with you, Alex, preparing for the unexpected. Thank you very much for your show and hosting me on this one.
Thank you, because on that, we actually have come right to the end of the show. Harsha, thank you very much. I can't say that anybody has ever used my name as a description like you just went through before. So that was kind of interesting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate you sharing your time and your knowledge with us today. I greatly appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Alex. God bless you.
And to everybody listening and watching, stay prepared, everybody.
Absolutely.
If you liked that video, thumbs up. If you didn't like that video, thumbs down. But leave a message and let me know what your thoughts are. If you'd like to be a guest on the show to talk about something related to business continuity, disaster management, COVID, personal well-being, anything that's relatable to those subjects, you can reach me through my LinkedIn profile, which is in the video description. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. In the meantime, stay prepared, everybody.